Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to Inside the Booth. I am your host, Dan the Law. And today we have a special guest, Cody from IronVerse Comics. If you
Howdy.
love, yes, howdy. If you love comics, you're going to love tonight because obviously you make comics, right?
I do. I've made a few. I have.
Just a few, just a little bit.
Just a couple.
Let me get this music to turn on.
It's bumping.
Anyway, we're vibing over here. That's right.
It is.
Yes. So yeah. Anyways, everybody, this is Cody. He makes comics and he does a lot of more other cool stuff. Um, so I guess the first question would be, what inspired you to come up with a comic book, make a comic?
Oh, okay.
Generally.
Okay, so this is a good one. I've answered this a few different times, and it really boils down to the core of what comics ended up being to me, which was like this open horizon, full of possibility, with a very low bar, to entry. But
Mhm.
honestly, I started off writing pretty young, like between 10 and 13. I wrote a few plays and things like that. So started with that kind of scripting, and that
Okay.
worked. But then I discovered comics,
Hmm.
particularly Ghost Rider Road to Damnation by Garth Ennis and Clayton Crane. And Clayton Crane's artwork was something I had never seen before. It was so righteous and badass. And I was just like hooked. I was like, oh, wow. This is something I haven't seen in films. I haven't seen in animation. I haven't seen anywhere else. And that really popped in my mind like, oh, you could that has the possibility to explore things you want. And so I ended up adapting my previous kind of works, the experience from those previous works into a comic script. And I started with a fan script, as anybody does, and just kind of feeling it out. Nobody knows how to script when they start. At least
Right.
that's in indie, and it's just very, very, very rare. I'm sure some people have different ways. My co-founder of IronVerse Comics, Dollar Coins, as he goes, he does novels, but he also does screenplays. So he
Okay.
writes his comic scripts like screenplays,
Hmm.
whereas I write them more like comic scripts, and I've seen so many different creators and writers scripts over the years now that I'm like, okay, there's not really one right way to do it. It's just kind of whatever works between you and your collaborator, right? And so
Right.
I've been very lucky to work with somebody for about the last past decade who's very good at translating my script, my I don't know, my chaos into something meaningful and expressive and gorgeous. And honestly, again, I could get deeper into like what Jack Irons means to me. I can get into these different things, but at the end of the day, it was just the medium that was most attractive because of the potential and the low barrier to entry, and that got me hooked.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Speaking of Jack Irons, we got a picture here. Um, So yeah, there's that's what he looks like, right?
Yes.
And it has a very Western style feel with this almost like apocalyptic happenings going around him. Like something happened to the world, and there he is. He's doing his thing.
Yes.
Um, I do enjoy the cartooning, the what do you call it? The drawings.
Line
Missed it.
art is
Yes.
kind of how I do it. Our wonderful line artist Maxi Dollo, he's the individual I had alluded to earlier. Been working with him for about a decade now. Wonderful,
Oh,
creative
cool.
soul. I'm very, very blessed. And the story of meeting him's kind of a trip, but the process of learning comics also through him is wonderful because again I went in bullheaded. I had something I wanted to do and I'm going to get it done. And I was lucky enough to be able to adapt to the lessons presented in that pursuit. And that's what led me here and has allowed me to do it for so long is adaptability and tenacity.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Very neat. Galaxy Garage, what's up? How are you? And we have Chris Fandom said hello like at 5 o'clock, my time, 5 o'clock. So that
Totally.
was really early. So, so what's up? If you show back up, hopefully you'll hear us say hi to you. Um, all right. Yeah. So what I find interesting in the drawings is like the different, I don't know, aliens, I guess
Mhm.
you could say. They're
Yes.
aliens. They're, just like different creatures, I guess. And in the beginning of it, it seems very, earthly, seemed very like Native American, the way it was. And then it goes out into this different world. So how did you put all that together, like almost science fiction-y with I don't know, like how did that all happen?
Well, it's a lot of my interests and personality report into it. But honestly, so I'm born and raised in northern New Mexico. So I've had been blessed with many to be surrounded by many different cultures: Hispanic, Native, Western American, and that combination of growing up with those very different moods. In fact, up here in particular, Taos, New Mexico, a lot of the Spanish speakers around here actually speak a 500-year-old version of Spanish still. It's very old world here. So that
Oh, wow.
historical grounding here was kind of inevitable, and I have a great appreciation for it. We have the oldest continuously lived in structure in Northern America with the Taos Pueblo, the native reservation here. There's a lot of that culture and history that I appreciate very much. I grew up with westerns, spaghetti westerns in particular, with Clint
Sweet.
Eastwood's Man with No Name trilogy, and
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
and
yeah.
and those kind of films, and so that attitude was a lot. I grew up with 80s sci-fi flicks,
Hmm.
Terminator, RoboCop, that kind of stuff, and so I just Jack is a culmination of all these different things that I love, that I wanted to extract the a lot of the cores of what I loved, and the messages within them that meant a lot to me, and rephrase them, recontextualize them through Jack as a character. And it's been a journey. I've worked very hard, and so has the team, to communicate these ideas through it. And I think we've made something quite worthy of attention, and something that I take great pride in, and something very unique. As you said, it's a lot of different perspectives put together. Another major influence is Gendy Tartakovsky's Samurai Jack. Um,
Okay.
I also kind of took that bit where the spaghetti westerns took a lot from old samurai films. Well, I'm
Hmm.
taking that again. I'm doing that again, where I'm taking the adaptation of Samurai Jack, the Samurai Ronin story, and moving that into a western again. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of levels I really appreciate with this work, and we've only gotten out 4 issues so far in the last good chunk of time, but we've been able to do it on our terms, to a quality that we can proudly present in front of many things out there today, and
Yeah, for
honestly
sure.
would, in my opinion, stands quite a bit out. Again, you won't find anything like what we're putting out.
Yeah, of course, and today's comic book making is totally agenda driven. To the woke Hollywood issues, basically. So it's nice to see someone out there that just wants to entertain in the comic book uh, era. In the comic book
I'm
portion.
trying to entertain. I do have my own personal philosophies put in there. It's
Oh, right,
if you
right.
read
But it's
if you read those 4 issues, it's very anti-authoritarian.
mhm.
I don't like any perspective of control, and you'll feel that throughout the whole bit. And it's also in it's a rumination on human history, and the weight of that. So it's got its own bits, and it's not the most uplifting read, but it's also a got a lot of beautiful action, wonderful character designs.
Yeah,
It is most certainly entertaining,
yeah.
as you said, most certainly.
That's for sure. Um, even just looking at the pictures and the little bit I did read so far, it's definitely entertaining. I like how it goes back in time. This well, now Iron Jack. No Jack. Sorry, I messed up
No
his name.
worries.
He
Not the first to call him that. It's funny.
right.
My bit is as long as folks are engaging with it and appreciate some part of it, then like I'm stoked.
Right. um, yeah. For some reason, all day I was thinking Ironside for some reason, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm on the Ironside, and I'm like, I don't know. It's that was a TV show back in the '60s. I think that was weird. It was a weird TV show. Anyways, yeah. So I like how it went back and he's back in the what is the Spartan times, or are you going for Roman times here? I mean,
It is
it's
Sparta.
kind
It
of
is
okay.
Spartan. It's one
Okay,
of
that's what I was
the
thinking.
dual kings they had at that time. He gets on the wrong side of trying to teach the son of that king, a prince equivalent, a lesson, and he it doesn't go well. And
Right,
that life of Jack doesn't end well either. So for folks who aren't familiar with the work, for one, you can read the first 3 issues for free on globalcomics.com if you're interested in checking them out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. I'm very proud of this work. So when folks take the time to check it out, wonderful. But the concept's a little out there. So he is a reincarnated immortal. So what does that mean? He has had many different lives, and we present those as part of my attempt to again attach human history to somebody who cannot leave human history, and so that's the immortal part. Eventually he finds himself in a body that will not
right,
die, and so we are exploring that throughout these issues, and it gets him more in depth, but that's the overall concept is somebody who has to bear this. He has no choice, no way out, no leaving. And so in that Spartan time, for one, that was one of the lessons. It's one of the bits that we present. We present another life in issue 1 called Lighthawk, where he's a young Native American who makes a poor decision and leads to some trouble as well. And there's one where he's in ancient Sumeria and he's just tending his crops when some barbarians show up, and that's the opening scene. It's again, I you're not gonna find anything else out there like it. But I keep
right,
harping
right.
on that. But it's certainly unique, and
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Do you want to send me the link to people to look at
Sure,
it? Yeah,
sure.
and I'll
Through
post it in
StreamYard,
here.
is that good?
Oh yeah, do it through the private chat. And then I'll put it up over
Perfect.
here.
And
Beautiful.
sent. That also links us to other creators under the imprint IronVerse Comics and their work, which takes place in the same universe as Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy, my work. Um,
Okay.
so, folks are interested. A lot of free reads, a lot of stuff we're very proud of.
Sweet. Yeah, it's good. Love it. There we go. Yeah. So I was good. Obviously. I guess I'll ask, what is your favorite Western movie? Since you are into the westerns, spaghetti westerns. Um.
Favorite. Oh, Two Meals for Sister Sarah. I love that. It's a lot of fun. The dynamic between Clint and the female lead, who it's bugging me. I don't remember her name because she's a Santa Fe native. But it's just wonderful. The twist at the end is a lot of fun. It's the right mix of the hard edge Clint Eastwood and the kind of comedic end of all of that with a little bit of romance in it. It's a lot of fun. Is it the best? No. Is it the most epic? No. But it's one of my personal favorites. No
Nice.
question.
Nice. So what do you think of John Wayne? Do you like
I've
his stuff?
watched a lot less John Wayne. Of course, I watched True Grit. I appreciate True Grit quite a lot. I've watched Stagecoach, of course, just to kind of dip my toes in the 1932 version of a western.
Mhm.
Um, it depends. More along those lines. So what you'd call the white hat cowboy. I've watched a lot of Gunsmoke. I'm a
Okay.
big Gunsmoke fan. And you'll find references throughout Jack Irons to Gunsmoke. But John just I don't know, something about his swagger was never my direct appeal, but I still like if one's on and we're enjoying it, I'm enjoying it. It's not what I choose every time. I like a little bit more edge. Again, True Grit from him.
Right.
I really like that. But some of the more kind of campy stuff, I could deal with that for the length of a Gunsmoke episode. 22 minutes, 45 minutes. But a full movie's a little bit much. I get distracted.
Of course. What's up, Ringy? How you doing, my friend? How are you? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I've always wondered what it would have been like to have a John Wayne and a Clint Eastwood, because I know John Wayne was a little upset with like Clint Eastwood's take on like the cowboys or the westerns, because he was too rough, too gritty, and it would have been cool to see them both on the same screen, though.
Oh,
my
absolutely.
opinion. I think that would have been so cool.
I agree. I totally agree. Again, I think the dynamic would have been great, and it would have been an older John and a slightly younger Clint. So that would have been a fun dynamic. And just presenting the difference between a brown hat cowboy, a white hat cowboy, and then of course they'd have to probably have somebody in the Lee Van Cleef was often the black hat cowboy, the bad guy, but. Right. Somebody like that would have been a fun dynamic. I totally agree.
Nice. And then you are also working on another comic, aren't you? That's not that's not Jake Iron. So what is that all about?
So not really, quote unquote. So I do run the imprint IronVerse Comics. So under that, we have 3 creative teams. My own, the Dollar Coins creative team of Dollar Coins himself. He's indie mangaka, so he does it more in the manga style of writing and stuff. And he's transferred that over to a more Western approach with Andrea Boscolo as the artist. You can see that on the same link, Global Comics that we posted. It's called Cactus Coyote. It takes place a little bit in the future. It's a little bit more Comedy Central centric, but it's got the same heart. All of our creators kind of have a similar drive under the imprint of what they're trying to present. And then I was assisting with another title called The Recluse, which sadly did not fund. So it's just a preview for now. It will, when the time's right, we'll be approaching that again. But that was from a different team of Scott Kish and Rosalind Summers. Scott is under the same publisher I've been working with, which is Wicked Publishing, and he puts out a title called Wrath. Highly recommend it. It explores childhood trauma in a very kind of fun, engaging, and heartfelt way. But The Recluse was more of a kind of more gritty, down-to-earth survival tale. Very Robin Hood as well, whereas Jack's kind of more philosophical, surreal, and Cactus Coyote's kind of almost a bit Looney Tunes, but with a depth to it that you certainly won't find under anything Warner Brothers these days.
This is true. This is true. Cool. Would you take Chris Pratt as a new modern action hero?
I mean, he's fine as like Star-Lord. He's fine with that edge to him, where he's kind of a goof. It works great. If you were to put him in again something like Fistful of Dollars, no, not at all. It would become a comedy just because of the nature of what he does as an actor, right? Since Parks and Rec, which I also enjoyed him in, no. As the definition of what they're presenting as the modern action hero, which is an affable kind of goof, of course he's very good at that. But as like I guess it would be pre-modern. I'm getting older, right? The 80s version of it. No. Even Schwarzenegger, when he was goofy, was still more grounded, and I could take him far more seriously than I can ever take Chris Pratt.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I guess that all depends on what kind of, like, with all actors, really, what kind of movies they're in and how they portray the character. Some people can do it. I mean, look at Mel Gibson; he can do almost anything. He could do
Yes.
comedy. He could do serious. I mean, he's great. And I don't know why they decided to like cancel him way back in the old days, but I think he was like the first person to be canceled, wasn't he?
He's
In
one
a
of the
way.
biggest ones, but he's
Mhm.
also, I mean, he's got a screw loose, like no joke.
I mean,
There's a lot of those folks,
who doesn't?
creators. Exactly, that's the bit, right? And he
Yeah.
just made it real public in a negative way, and they were happy to go on that. But he's still been consistent. He's never been out of work, and he's consistently produced and directed films to great success. I mean,
Yeah.
even Passion of the Christ was after that, if I remember right. Wonderfully successful film.
Yeah.
But I mean, Apocalyptico, and then he just did one where he's Santa, and I forgot what that's called, but that was a hard, gritty
That
film, and
was
that was in the last couple years, right?
Fat Santa, I think it was called.
Oh, that might be it. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And I've
I do
heard good
remember.
things. I haven't seen it, but I heard good things. I mean, it's Mel Gibson. He
It's
definitely
yeah,
doesn't
It's good. It's good. I enjoyed it
fail
for
to
some
deliver.
weird reason. It was a weird movie. It really was, but it was like one of those kind of cool weird movies. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was interesting for sure. But I enjoyed it. I don't know, because there was a little bit of funny goofiness in it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it was like a serious, this guy's crazy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it was.
Well, that's when he's at his best. Another massive, Mel Gibson, another massive influence is the Road Warrior series, the Mad Max series.
Yeah.
Massive influence
Good.
with Jack Irons. Yeah, no question, down to designs and story, because it was a evolution of the Western. Western is often defined by the what's called the dead man's walk. It's usually a journey that they know they won't return from, and Mad Max is very much that. And you'll see that with most of the spaghetti westerns as well, as Clint walks in and he doesn't know he's going to walk out, but he has a mission, he's going to do it. And anyway, so that's a massive influence, and I think Mel is great when he's got to put a little bit of crazy in there. Again, Max, he had terrible past, and then he's starting to break from being alone all the time. You have Lethal Weapon with Rain C, completely crazy, suicidal. Hell, even down to What Women Want, right? Where he's going crazy. He plays the best when he's got a little bit of psychotic edge to him, kind of like Nicolas Cage as well. He's another actor that if you can put a little bit of crazy in there, then they can do their job quite well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's kind of cool that I mean, even like Nicolas Cage is kind of becoming popular again, And
he just has been grinding at his debt like crazy and taking every movie he can. That's what happens when you buy a T-Rex skull and a bunch of cars for buddies, and you just keep buying things. And eventually it catches up, and he's like, okay, fine. But he got to work. Like he didn't just let it crush him. He got to work, and he's been producing fun stuff, and he hits every role with like enthusiasm, particularly lately. And again,
lately,
yeah,
for sure. Because there was a time where he was kind of like doing those movies that were like almost B-style movies, and nobody even heard of them, and it was nuts. It was like
he's doing like 3 a year. It was pretty crazy.
Of course. But that's funny. So Jack Irons, so explain a little bit about the comics, like is it on Earth, or is he in a different world? Explain a little bit like what's going on there in the comics.
It's what you'd call an alternate history, right? At some point, the timeline diverges, and that's based upon kind of our 4 pillars of the IronVerse Comics, which are the 4 horsemen. They manifested in this world, and they're caricatures of different vices, which is kind of what they've always been. We just kind of took that to a more cartoony, direct kind of in-your-face level, and that's the first one to manifest is famine, and we explore that in issue 2, and just kind of how that twists things, and that starts around the Industrial Revolution, and that's when things start changing and ramping up quite rapidly, and so their technology is kind of up until everything got kind of blown up and destroyed, their technology was racing forward because of this corporate greed and what his goal is. The four horsemen, war, famine, plague, and death, and they all seek to make reality themselves. It's a very egocentric journey. There are these kind of Lovecraftian ideals that rip into reality and then force themselves upon whatever society or civilization they find themselves on. And they've done this throughout the galaxy. That's why you'll see alien stuff there. There's not just the Earth horsemen. There's a bunch of horsemen all over, and it's a galactic war, and they've been opposing them for a very long time. By the time they manifest on Earth, and Earth becomes a unique case. All this is an issue too. I highly recommend. Again, it's free to read if folks are interested. But nonetheless, they're kind of our driving pillars. Those four kind of affect everything that we write and plot towards. They're the main adversaries. They're the push and pull of the universe. They're the reason a lot of these things exist within it. And we're slowly kind of revealing the relationship between our varied protagonists and these horsemen as we continue the series. And we're getting there slowly, but there's a lot to say, and it needs to be handled with care, and we're doing it as we can, best we can, and I think we're pulling it off, which is no small feat from the scale that we're trying to do it at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Ringy, if you want some sneak peeks, there is free reads. I just posted the link again for you. I can throw up.
There's 96 pages of comics just with Jack free, so there's plenty there if you are interested, and we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, of course. And then here's a couple of pictures if you want to see what the art style is. It's very cool. I like this art style, definitely.
Maxie was a wonderful find. He's got this right edge of it's very cartoony, right? It's not, his proportions are fun. They're not really realistic, right? That is not what he goes for. He goes for character, and that's exactly what we needed, because every panel that he puts together communicates that extra little bit and can keep you going throughout what is and can be a very dense amount of communication. And his action scenes are beautiful. I'm very proud. Each issue he's improved. A wonderful colorist as well has really been able to. Max's line art is very gritty, and it's he does it all traditionally. He does some cleanup digitally, but pretty much all of it's on page with ink. Cool. You can feel that with the grit in his lines. And once you apply this bright, vivid, surrealistic color to it, it brings out that extra, like you're stepping into another world with this, and helps with the suspension of disbelief that'll carry you along alongside what I hope are very, very strong characters that you kind of want to see what's going on with them and what their goals are and how they interact and all that.
Yeah. I think very soon you'll be able to see some Comic-Con characters of your book. That would be sweet.
It'd be great cosplaying. I know somebody's attempted it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. It's. I think again, our character designs, what he's been able to do, again, has been very, very striking. He has been key to any of the success that we've had with the series. Has been.
Now, does he take the ideas from you to draw it out, and you go back and forth and say, "Oh, I like this, I don't like that," or does he just do it and you're like, "I trust you, go ahead"?
So. A lot of it's back and forth. He'll be unsure a lot. So there is a slight language barrier. He is Argentinian. English is his second language. But he's, you say second language, he's fluent in it as far as I'm concerned. But sometimes, terms I use and things like that, he's like, well, what did you mean here? Right. And so there's those kind of back and forths. There's sometimes, especially when we started out, he had to he started off as a children's illustrator, and then he moved into storyboarding, and he's always wanted to work in comics. So he's always had that in the back as well. He's a very, very, he's a great talent. But so he had to kind of show me how he kind of would envision a page. And once I kind of understood that, we found our rhythm of, I got the script, he does layouts and designs and such. If something needed to change, whatever, he usually runs it by me. Most of the time, though, as we've spent again this nearly decade working together, the amount of times that we've needed to exchange back and forth and not understand what needs to be done has significantly decreased. Most of the time, it's just go for it, and then he'll render the page, and then I will, if need be, rewrite the script before lettering to that page. If he was able to communicate a lot of what I wrote in the art, and I can trim that fat, excellent. It's great for pacing. The less I have to say, the better. But that happens. Sometimes he wants to make 2 pages into a double page spread. Sometimes he wants to fully, make a full page spread out of what was 3 panels. Things like that, where sometimes it just needs a little bit of tweaking. That is fine. Like, honestly, that's part of the wonderful collaborative nature of comics that I adore.
That's cool. Very good. Yeah, what's up, love it? How are you? Welcome. Hello, Mom. How are you? Thanks for showing up. Yeah, so we are 30 minutes in right now, so we'll take a quick commercial break. Everybody knows the deal about the commercials. Well, everybody should know. If not, and you're watching this, we're doing a little commercial for you. Stay tuned for the rest of the show. So watch the commercials, would you?
Watch them.
Here we go. What do we do at Inside the Booth?
What is this place? What is it that you do here? Merchandising. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it is beautiful, everybody. Don't forget to go to InsideTheBoothTV.com/shop and get yourself some. We got mugs, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies. We got these things called neck gaiters, but I call them do-rags because I use them for anything. So whatever you want to call it, go ahead and buy something. The Christmas season's coming up. Black Friday. Go ahead and buy something from us, Get it? That's right. So that's one of the best ways to support us. Another best way is to obviously subscribe to the channel, share, and do this thingy.
Want to ring the bell? All right. Ding, ding.
Yep, yeah, ring that bell so you get notified for more content that we post. Yeah, and then hit the like button. Vanquish the like button. That's what I used to say. I'll start saying that again. Vanquish that like button, everybody. I need to get like some kind of little character that has a sword and hitting the like button, vanquishing it. all medieval dressed. Yeah. Also, we have a Patreon page. Go ahead and check that out and become a Patreon member, because if you do, you get extra stuff from us, I guess. And also, everybody, Cody over here, he has YouTube, he has Twitter, he has a Patreon, and I believe some of that stuff is right down there in the description below. Go check out his stuff. Go subscribe to his channel. Show him some love, and if you didn't see it, go ahead and look at that link. The link in the chat. I don't know whichever way the chat is. If you're on a phone,
I think
it's down there. If you're on a computer, it's over to the side, one of those sides. And in the live chat here, there's a link to his first 3 issues of a comic book, and you can read them. And if you like them, go ahead and throw him some money on his Patreon.
Yes, let me know. Everything's under IronVerse Comics. Particularly, you can go to ironversecomics.com. We've got merch. We've got all our social links. We're on everything. We got the YouTube. We got the free reads. I hope you enjoy. Put some time into that. Our wonderful patrons are who keep that site up. So if you want to join them in continuing and furthering our work, we'd very much appreciate it. But if not, just check it out. I guarantee it's worth your time.
For sure. Definitely. All right. Back to the show, everybody. And those who went, who had to go take a little leak anyways, hopefully you're back by now. The commercial was what? Maybe 5 minutes long? Dang, a 5-minute long commercial, everybody. That's the longest commercial I've ever seen. Yeah, so Cody, what else can we talk about in this Jake Iron comic book adventure you took?
Well, there's so many different things. If you have questions about being an independent comic creator, if you have questions about crowdfunding, if you have questions about navigating social media.
Yeah, did you crowdfund for that?
I did indeed.
Okay, cool.
So the first issue, the line art for it was actually a just serendipitous in meeting Maxi Dallo and me diving into comic creation, right? So when you, and most people, I could be wrong, but I'd say most people, when you want to make comics, you don't know exactly. Maybe you're an artist and you know how to do it, which is just to make comics, by the way. They'll tell you that and it kind of, when I heard it, it's like the way to make comics is to make comics is just stupid. But at the end of the day, it really is you got to will your way into it however you're going to do it. If you're an artist, that can be a little bit easier than if you're somebody like me who just writes. So when I started that writing, I had the script, and I was like, this needed to happen. I had a personal tragedy that allowed me to have a couple $100 sitting around, and I was like, "Oh, that's got to be enough to hire an artist." It wasn't, and so I kind of went in looking for that, and I talked to a couple folks, and they ended up ghosting me, which is a very common experience, especially when you're starting out, because it depends on who you're getting a hold of and all of that, right? But I put out an ad on Craigslist. This is 2015, something like that. And 2015, yeah. And so then Maxi Dallo, he was looking for work and got in contact with me. I met him at a McDonald's with my script in hand, he with his art portfolio, and we talked, met, kind of spoke it over, worked out a rate that I could actually afford, which was a gift, and I didn't really realize how much till I actually started really working in comics and figuring that out. But that's how the line art happened. And then I lettered the book first, in terrible lettering. I didn't understand how to letter. I recommend you will hire a letterer. That is a very underrated role in a book, and it is crucial. But nonetheless, we had a book. We had something readable, right? And so I had that up on a site called Tapastic, I think is what it's called. It's kind of the webtoon alternative. I was looking for alternatives to host it on. I always tried to go to the other thing just for the hell of it. I don't usually like going with the main flow. And so we had it up there for a while. Eventually a letterer found it, and he's like, "Oh, I love this book. I love this art. I hate your lettering. Can I please reletter it?" I was like, "Oh, of course. Yeah, please, thank you." And so we did that, and then we had a good readable version of it. And eventually I was like, well, that's great. We have 24 pages done. It's readable. I love making a comic. How can I make more? I have no money. And so I looked into it. I was like, oh, crowdfunding. And so I launched on Indiegogo, again, 2017, I want to say January 2017, and did the full 2 months, made $10. So I had to kind of jump back and like, okay, well, how do I actually do this? And I had to bite the bullet, and I joined social media, particularly Twitter. And so, because I've tried Facebook,
Wonderful,
I've tried many others. Yeah, I've tried many others. Reddit if you can navigate Reddit, it is amazing for views on a comic, by the way. But you got to navigate it, and Reddit is Nonetheless, I've seen it work very well for my work. Again, thanks to the wonderful folks at Global Comics. But the main bit is, once I joined social media, it was about 2018. I gave it about a year trying to feel it out. And now, before I had posted it for free on Tapastic, I did the thing that a lot of folks try to do, and I solicited it to a bunch of different independent publishers. And that was very... I'm not going to say disheartening, but it was kind of a wake-up call that led me to joining social media and going harder into crowdfunding and really pushing it myself, because I got one response out of, I don't know, 15 submissions over 5 years. I got one response. It's like, I enjoyed reading this, but this isn't the kind of thing we published. And that was the one guy who took the time. And I really appreciated it, because at least I knew somebody read it, and like it went through, right? I think you can sometimes underestimate how kind of like important that is. But feeling that all out, what the indie comic environment was like, at least from that impenetrable attempt kind of deal, it was a big wake-up call. I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it myself, and join social media. That was around 2018, where a lot of awareness around independent work and the culture war was kind of kicking up, all of that, and doors were kicked down, and I was able to place a beautiful, handcrafted, wonderful, above professional level comic down, and people alongside me being able to sell it and being who I am, I think I'm quite personable. It worked very, very well, and I've been able to build an audience since on that one platform. On most others, I have had zero success, but on that one, I was able to build network and learn, and eventually snag an indie publisher during my second attempt to crowdfund it, which allowed us to produce physicals. And the rest has been me just trying to keep things moving. And each time we've made more money, and each time we've got it done, we've gotten platforms for our wonderful art teams to actually branch out and do other books. I've done a few other things as well. And it's just been a wonderful experience on that end. Now, navigating social media and ignoring a lot of the other stuff with it and all of it, that's another thing. Like that's a whole new learning curve for somebody like me. But you take the good with the bad, and for me that was enough. As long as I can keep producing this work and keep getting it to people, like that's part of what I'm trying to do. It's very important to me. The story and the constructs and the concepts of it are very important to me. That's why I do it. A lot of comic creators I talk to, they do it for fun, and that's wonderful. I do it because I have something I really feel I need to share and need to do. And so, that's been a guiding, driving star for a long time as I adapt, learn, and work with a bunch of different people, work around and meet new people like you and your wonderful audience. And, it's a journey I'm very grateful for, but it's been a long one. It's been a hard one at times, but we've printed, about 2,000 issues. We've sent out about as many between the four, so it's been nice. It's a very it's a wonderful blessing, Jack, is to me, and just IronVerse Comics, what it became, and the wonderful people I've gotten to work with and meet, and all of that. It's a very positive thing for me, let's say, and I'm very appreciative of it.
It's good. It's good. Did you hear that, everybody? He likes
You are
us.
wonderful. I do.
He likes us.
I do.
He likes us over here. All right, cool. Social media is so hard to navigate and so hard to get. It's hard to like back in 2006, let's say, social media. You post something, almost everybody who follows you or everybody who knew you would see your post. Nowadays, it's like you post something, only one or two people look at it, and you're like, but I have so many followers and so many, so many people who subscribe, and it's like, what happened? Is it like something? I mean, I know everybody says the algorithm gods of YouTube or of Facebook or something, and it's just like, but it shouldn't be that way. It should just be, these people follow me. They should be notified every time I do something, Or
I agree. I agree. But the As most things, the money angle came in, and they're like, well, if we have this much towards advertisers, we have to push it towards this kind of content so that more advertisers come in and we make more money. Even if they're running at a loss, like most of these social media companies, it's kind of a weird thought, especially YouTube's a big one that runs at a loss, that the fact that they even work those angles is kind of weird. But nonetheless, like that's kind of what it became. And then it became this other thing where most people are on it now, and God forbid the 2 generations under me, they, since they're 5, they're on it, right? So it's become a much different beast. Even again, when I joined it in 2018, it's become a massively different beast. In 2018, again, I was able to kick up awareness and drive folks to the product a lot easier than I am these days, and that's a sad fact. But I always come from, the greater the challenge, the harder you sometimes got to work, and hopefully that betters you through it, but you never know. Sometimes you're just getting bullied.
That's true too. This is true too. And it's interesting, how this social media works. It's because it's just like advertising for the show. It was tough, I mean, you gotta. Me personally, I don't like to tag people, but it seems like more people watch when I do. So, so I tag them, and then obviously you get some of those people like, don't tag me, and you're like, well.
That's one of those bits too, right? You have to walk that line of intrusion versus promotion, and that's always a tough one to walk.
Yeah, it is. Sure is. But I'm grateful for all our followers and our subscribers here too, because it wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for social media. And especially, I don't know, for some reason, what was it, a couple of years ago, Twitter is what kind of brought it up more for me. Because I did the whole Facebook thing first, just my friends on Facebook. But like 2 of them subscribed, They were like, come on, man, subscribe to my stuff.
Facebook has always been like impenetrable to me. Like, I guess the first thing I touched right back in the day was MySpace. Like, I did touch that as a kiddo, but that's before I was really like MySpace, doing anything for promotion. So that was a whole different thing than what my work is. The only reason I'm on any of these socials besides my channel, which is a lot of like personal vlog stuff, which is just another form of self-expression, which I need. But the social media stuff is primarily business and networking and interactions and promotion. That's the main reason. Social media for me seemed like a trap very early on. It seemed like something that could really drain a soul from somebody, and so I had to go in with a proper perspective to survive it. And so far so good.
You're smart enough for that. When I was younger, social media, like you said, was totally different. But now that I'm doing stuff for inside the booth, it's like a different beast, like you said. That's crazy. I had a question lingering, but it went away.
It reappears.
Yeah, I hope so
Hopefully
too.
It does.
It was a good one. I think it was. No. I think it was a good one.
No. I mean, I'll take a bad one and try and make it look good. I'll
there
take
you go. No, that's cool.
I mean, that game, the social media game, is rough, but it's the only way. And again, as we've been saying, it's harder now than it was. Like if I had started now, I think I would have had a terrible time getting any kind of traction, because maintaining traction has been difficult, even with a quality product and
right.
A lot of other things going on our side, but nonetheless, we've been able to, and we've released 4 incredible issues, a 16-page ash can of another series, and which also had a 40-page manga style release that he did all himself, which is also a lot of fun. He's down on it, but I love it. And the Recluse, right? So which is a preview. There's about the same length done of that, but we're releasing those pages slowly. And so it's the one thing with any kind of art where you're trying to get it out and it's not just for you, just a personal thing, is maintaining that goal of what you're doing it for, right? For instance, I'd love to know why you started Inside the Booth and what kind of has driven you to this point, and what kind of drove you to me. I'd love to know that. Ask you a question.
Okay, sure. Let's see here. Inside the Booth. First, it was more of I was living in Florida at the time, and I was working for a ministry, and obviously in the ministry, I'm filming. I do all the social media stuff for them, and I was like, you know what, I could do this myself. And of course, I started this with my brother, and I said to my brother, we love movies. We love Jesus. Let's do something that has to do with talking about movies, and then put a little twist on it and talk about Jesus, about the movie at the end. And I was like, what should we call it? I don't know. And this was back in 2015. We didn't launch Inside the Booth until 2017. So it took a couple years to think about and to pray about, and it took a while. But it was always in the head, it was always there. And then I was like, okay, we finally straightened it out, and we said, okay, let's do it. We had a couple of names, the arenas, whatever, the Coliseum, something, it was a couple of different stuff, and then we were like, Inside the Booth, that sounds cool, and we could make a picture of one of those, as you could tell, the logo is more of like a balcony scene from a certain Muppet Muppet thing. And I told my brother, let's be critics. And he goes, well, let's not call it critics. People don't like that word. And I'm like, well, so what? Who cares? But he goes, we'll just call ourselves reviewers. We review movies, So it's the same thing. You review it and you criticize.
You're critiquing it, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So that happened, and I was like, we both loved those two old men from the Muppets, and we both loved watching Siskel and Ebert back in the 90s, So it was like, why not? Why not? Siskel and Ebert were a little bit more, I don't know, they were strange, So I told my brother, let's be more like, let's beat each other up sometimes, or let's be entertaining to where people will like the engagement, and we do. Every time he comes on, we like to pick on each other. He hasn't been on in a little bit, but obviously we talk about it all the time and stuff. So that's how we kind of got started. We like movies, we like reviewing things. What was the other part of that question? Sorry.
Well, what led you to me? How'd you find my work and all of that?
Oh, that is strange. I think I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. I like the art style and stuff. And and I'm always looking for people to interview. And I'm like,
there you go.
I'm always looking for, even if it's the small guy. I'll interview the small guy. Eventually, someday, I want to interview like some famous people. But right now, the small guys, we all help each other out.
Yes, that's a big part.
So I was like, yeah. So I said, I saw your stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I, followed you, and I don't know how you followed. I think you followed me back. Not sure how long after, but yeah. And then I was like, hey, what's up? And then thanks for the follow. The main little, the little talks.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Then when I was looking at your stuff, I was like, oh, cool. He makes comic books. Hey, one day, do you want to come be on our show? And then that's one thing led to another. And then now here you are.
I'm here. Yeah, totally. No, but that's great.
Yeah,
I mean,
6 months ago or something.
Probably it has taken some time.
Yeah,
I tend to my philosophy a lot of the time is same with what you talked about, where a lot of the little guys helping each other. That's how I got anywhere. There's I'm going to paraphrase it, but there's a quote from a mangaka author I really appreciate that kind of has to, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's, the path I chose is uneven and rugged and rough. And when I fell into the mud, my peers lifted me up and allowed me to carry forward. So now I reach out to those following me to do the same. And so that's kind of what, that's been my philosophy of social media, and has allowed me to survive it a lot of the time is, I love discovering an artist or a creator or again, a podcaster, a reviewer, a YouTuber who on the platform could use a little bit of a boost here and there, and whose work I appreciate. And I tend to give everybody the benefit of the doubt in that. And it hasn't failed me so far. It's been a wonderful experience. I met some great folks, and I think it kind of keeps the mojo working. I don't expect anything like this out of it, but I do, try to foster that kind of uplifting, supportive environment in the work. It's been crucial to surviving it.
That's for sure. Yeah. And, another thing that keeps coming to my mind right now is I have a friend that I've interviewed that he writes books. He writes novels. What are they? Fiction, right? Yeah. Fictional books like science fiction, military books. And they're really cool. And, I see some of your comics and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if you guys could get together or something. Yeah, I mean, I could always send you a link and you can look at his stuff. I mean, they're good books. They're really.
Well, I'm always happy to check out again independent work and support it where I can. Part of the struggle is always, and this is the big one. I mean, it's just life, right? Is financing, right? Like that's just life. Is getting stuff done. Yes, survival and all of that. And so, like again, we've ran. I think we are about 50-50 in our crowd funds in terms of funding and not funding. It's been, you got to be able to take those on the chin and move forward. A lot of other folks, like I see they depending on what they do for an actual living. A lot of the time comics is a particularly in independent comics and even mainstream. They won't tell you that because they don't like what it looks like, but it's a side hustle. It's something you do on the side that you almost subsidize, particularly for indie folks.
It's more like a hobby then.
And that's rough for what even the low bar for entry. So if you are a cartoonist and you're a wonderful, talented artist, then your investment becomes time, and so and you have to deal with all the other investments. You have to deal with the promotional time investment. You have to deal with doing your art, of course, and scripting, whatever your process is for actually creating a final product. You have to deal with the networking. If you run a crowdfunding to earn some money out of it, you got to deal with that. So there's all these different like levels to it. Even if you already have one chunk of it done, that is just it's Herculean that so many people do. I can't tell you how many, I'll call them cartoonists again. So those are folks who I consider, they do all the things. They edit their work, they draw it, they script it, they promote it, they do all the things. And have 3 kids and a day job. I couldn't imagine that. I have my day jobs, right? But I take care of dogs. Like I don't have the family angle. I don't have all these other restraints on my time that honestly deserve that time more in most cases, right? And so I just like folks who do that or do something like you do and have all those other angles, like it's a wonderful thing, and it really shows the passion that an individual has, that they continue pushing that and making it something they can be proud of. And I love supporting that stuff.
That's cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Also, since you write, another thing I always like to look for is in the future who can possibly might help me out with some certain things, because I have a friend that has a movie set in Florida, and he built it himself, and then now he's getting a lot of customers now and stuff that film on it, but it's a very Western style set that he built, and he wrote a TV show, and it's it's not the best in the world, but it's deep. When you start with nothing it's something,
Yeah.
and I've been there. I've been
And everybody
stuck.
starts from
Yeah,
everybody starts from
everybody
ground
starts
zero.
with nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no question.
and it's so cool
Some
how
people do it multiple times.
yeah, it's cool how it evolves, and then I'm always thinking in the back of my head, that'd be cool. Maybe he can give me a blessing and give me a little bit of his, like, let me film on his thing, or take a little bit of his scripts and make it better. And then I try to connect with just a bunch of different people, and who knows what could happen in the future. That's all.
Well, I will plug that my commissions are always open for editorial work, scripting, whatever kind of writing needs, articles. My commissions are always open. I have done quite a few different ones. I've done everything from anthologies to short stories to short story anthologies, but all kinds of different scripting. I haven't written direct screenplays, but I have worked with them significantly. Dollar Coins, again, the co-founder of IronVerse Comics, he has written. He's a different. I like writing when I have a goal and a task. He is a writer. He just needs to write. So he has written so much to do with Cactus Coyote and his work at IronVerse, but he's written novel after novel as well. That's just who he is. But he's written a lot of screenplays as well. And so I have worked with those and done, quote unquote, what you call a treatment to them, where you tweak and do that. But if anybody's ever interested, contact me. IronVerseComics@gmail.com is one way. At Cowboy_Steel on Twitter. You can go to IronVerseComics.com, and again, contacts. We're on everything. So if there is a place you prefer to contact me on, I will be there. But so that is always an option. I'm always appreciative for folks who consider me. But at the same time, my skills are what my skills are. So it won't gel for every project, But,
right.
I'm happy to talk about it, and if nothing else, I am always open to give advice. I do have experience, and I am always happy to hopefully, if nothing else, be a little bit of an uplifter, because I've been in the trenches consistently, and I know what that feels like.
Sounds good. Cool. Well, one last question before we go. For those out there who want to get into comic books, is there any advice you would give? Any thing to kind of advice basically? What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to get into doing comic books?
Well, the number one is kind of what I put for any artist, no matter what you're doing, and I'll use painting as the example, but you have to make that initial brushstroke. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You can't be intimidated by that first brushstroke, the first line you write, anything like that. You just got to start, because if you don't start, nothing ever gets done. You have to make that first bit, and don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to be terrible, because everybody's terrible at the beginning, and whatever you're doing. Some folks are a little bit, whatever they chose, they might have a little bit more of a natural talent for it, but that doesn't mean that they didn't also have that apprehension, that first, do I really want to do this, and that intimidation of staring at a blank canvas. So I recommend doing that. I would be nowhere had I not just been like, you know what, I'm going to write this thing because I want to. I have no idea what it should look like. And it's terrible. In fact, I've reviewed it on my channel, which was my first Marvel fan script, where I barely even knew anything about these characters. There's some, the opening scene is badass. I'm still very proud of the opening scene, but the rest of it's rough. The dialogue is just, it's terrible. After that opening scene, the opening scene is great, but which is funny because that's where I started. But the just don't be afraid for it. Enjoy the experience, and try and face any of your artistic way. Again, playing music, any of these things. My God, if you pick up an instrument for the first time, are you going to be good at that? No. So it's those things where it takes time, it takes dedication. You got to have a goal and you got to want it, but at the same time, you got to try it to know if you actually have any connection to a medium, to some form of self-expression. And I definitely come from the perspective of, we need as many independent voices out there as possible to figure out any of this. And so I'm always very excited to find new artists, right? And if there's anything I can do is just say, if you have any interest in any medium, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to suck. Well, yeah, but maybe you'll find something you really enjoy out of it, and then it'll lead you to getting better at it. But you gotta take that first step.
Definitely. thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Love It says, great advice. R2's got to go, or Ringy's got to go, and Phil says hello earlier, a little bit earlier. So, oops. So yeah, that's about it, everybody, for tonight. We are at the 1 hour, and yeah. So thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, Cody, for being here. And you know, guys, every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be live. And then when the new year hits, we'll start doing more stuff on Inside the Booth because I should have my other room all set up. So by then, right now, everything's a mess. But yeah, it happens. So thanks everybody for being here. God bless you all. Have a
Thank you. Va con Dios.
Here's a little music to say goodbye. And thanks for watching.